You may have noticed that this hexagonal lighting is very fashionable. It's appearing in all your local shops of suspicious origins, and the reason it's so popular is very simple. To ship this huge ceiling light that covers a massive area, they can fit loads and loads of these lights in a very small area. They can cram them into a small box with all the adapters that join them together, the power cable or power cables, let's talk about that later, and all the clips for attaching it to your ceiling. And it compresses into a very compact box that you then, once you assemble it like Lego, danger Lego, you end up with a really huge light. So let me just plug some of these together and show you it working. So stand by for a demo. I've powered this up. Note that I've just shoved wires in with crimps. You may be saying, well, that looks dangerous. It's actually less dangerous than what they actually supply, which you can connect to live neutral and then poke your fingers in anyway. But this connector also didn't arrive initially, but the seller did actually send it, which is nice. But what we have is this starting connector, which is the Y connector. And you can then get one of these lights and plug it in like this. And these lights, incidentally, they have a plastic film in the front. I think it's because they're stacking them with this white plastic against the translucent plastic, and they're worried about the transfer of colour. But you can peel that film off. And you can keep plugging these in and plug them end to end. And each time you do so, each light has these connectors in here that you can actually touch, that you can then just basically put loads of shapes on straight through right angle. It's quite nice in a way, it's quite modular. But there's another bit of an issue. You see, if for instance you have a very large array of these, you can feed power in from multiple sections, and that is a bit of an issue with these connectors because they're reversible. They can go either up this way, or you can turn them around, they go up that way, which means that you can potentially have a full live neutral short circuit with this finest copper coated aluminium wire and whatever's inside these. We'll open one of these up and take a look inside. And if you do that and it's a large array and the resistance is high enough and your circuit breaker isn't really suited to the application, you may have a whole ceiling fire. That's quite exciting. Incidentally, if you notice that these extrusions look familiar, it's a very common extrusion used for things like this little pink filming light with random modes. Right, okay, let's open one of these up. So the way these are clipped together, they've got this little plastic catch on here that clips physically into the extrusion. And if I can get the spudger in here, I don't know if it's actually going to open that wide enough. It does clip in quite hard, which is good in a way. I think I may be about to sacrifice one of these because I'm not sure that I can easily... Hold on, let's try. Just pushing down and pushing out and see what happens. Oh, that works. That's good. There's a little connector crimps. There's the driver. It's slightly smaller than I was expecting. And there's the two wires going up to the other end. Okay, let's sacrifice this light temporarily by clipping these off. Very thin. Let's strip this and take a look at it and see, is it going to survive that short circuit when you plug the connectors on back to front? Or is your ceiling going to burst into flames? I'm just raking through the tools here. So although the wire that was supplied, is it copper coated aluminium? Let me just grab a lighter and check that. Flame test. So I've stripped that back a bit more. Oh, just absolutely frizzling away. It's copper-coated aluminium, so quite high resistance. So yes, your ceiling is going to burst into flames when something goes wrong. I wonder how long it'll be before that happens. Here are the LEDs. Here's the driver. Let's reverse engineer it. One moment, please. Okay, let's explore. So the supply comes in via this 15 ohm resistor that is there for a couple of reasons. It limits the inrush current to that capacitor, quite important in such a large array of LED lights. And it also acts probably as a fuse in the event of things going wrong. Underneath this capacitor is a bridge rectifier. You may be able to see that just sneaked under there. And then there's a 6.8 megafarad capacitor across that to provide a smooth supply. I've missed out the red colouring there. That bothers me. One moment, please. Bingo. It was bothering me. It isn't bothering me now. The chip is a KP1078 ASP. Not sure about that. It's probably a clone of a clone of a clone. It's got a 3 ohm current sense resistor. There's another position for a resistor that is usually in these chips used for over voltage protect. It monitors the voltage output, and if it goes too high, it shuts the chip down. We have an inductor here. I'll just draw that on here. An inductor. And then there's a smoothing capacitor for the LEDs and a load resistor in case everything goes open circuit. Also, there's a position for an extra diode, which I think in this instance is just an option. There's one already in this chip. Let's take a look at the schematic. And here it is, very straightforward. The incoming AC supply goes via that resistor, bridge rectifier, smoothing capacitor, 400 volt death beam, 6.8 megafarad. There's the chip is fed directly. It's one of these high voltage little chips. Very scary, yes. And it effectively then, all the LEDs, capacitor and load resistor are common to the positive rail. And there's an inductor here, and the chip switches the inductor down to the 0 volt rail via this current sense resistor, monitors the voltage across it. As soon as it goes too high, it'll turn that off if it's not timed out already. And then when the magnetic field in that collapses, then it can divert the current via the internal diode up to the positive rail. So it's doing double duty, as these things do. Because when it turns on, the current is limited as it charges up the magnetic field in that inductor, and that rations the current going through the LEDs in both directions. The 3 ohm sense resistor and this missing resistor, the over voltage protect, I would guess that's it. The LEDs on this strip are wired as pairs, 2 in parallel, and then the whole lot has 18 series sections giving 36 LEDs, and the voltage across it is approximately 54 volts, and I would guesstimate that the current through them for that for losses to the power supply and also the 6 watt power rating, because it is 6 watt at 0.5 power factor, something worth noting if you're running a lot of these. The current through the LEDs will probably be about 100 milliamps. The LED strips, that's roughly 50 milliamps per LED. But there we have it. They're interesting lights. They're not without their flaws, but I like their very modular construction. It's quite a sort of fun electronic illuminated Lego type thing. Oh, there's one other thing worth mentioning. This was the 5 hex kit I got. It was just a basic small kit. I didn't want to buy anything too big. So there's the power coming on here. And the only difference, there's not much cost difference between the 4 hex and the 5 hex, because the only difference is these 2 light bars here. That turns it from a 4 hex into the 5 hex. So when you're looking at the design of these, ultimately, you can see they do have charts showing the variations you can do. But of course, you're not saddled with just making them in the way they imply they should be made. You can make any staggered shape you want with these. It is quite a fun thing.